Artificial intelligence. It's a very, very innovative thing that has actually existed long before people realize it. No different than the internet that's been used by the military before it's been adopted publicly by the people. Milnet, Nelnet, right? It's an internal network that was sharecropped to the public. Other forms of artificial intelligence, such as things like your voicemail, your ability to put star and whatever number that would allow your call to go directly into voicemail, or that will block certain numbers. All those are artificial intelligence. Your vehicle that you're moving about, that you're using, it doesn't even have to be ones created after the year 2000. Even the one in the 1900s, they have computers in them. It's called ECUs. They learn the temperament of the driver and adjust it accordingly. That ability for you to plug something into the vehicle to see the codes, to see what's wrong with the engine, that's artificial intelligence, whether people realize it or not. The fact that you're using a search engine to search anything, whether back in the days of Ask Jeeves or Yahoo search, all those are artificial intelligence. It has always existed. Now, it's evolving in the sense that people don't even know how it's evolving. And people don't know there are two main types of artificial intelligence. One that you have to condition and one that's self-learning. The one that you condition is the one that's not much of a threat, but the one that's self-learning is the issue. It's the one that you would typically hear people speak of when they make the analogy or the joke that computers are going to take everyone over. It's the self-learning one. Meaning it's going to have the capacity to have its own consciousness and to make its own independent decision outside of human provocation. But that's another subject matter for another day. One thing that's prevalent that I'm noticing when it comes to pen and paper and the everyday man's comprehension of how laws work, they think they're getting a one-up by going to Chat GPT and typing in a question and asking it a question, and that Chat GPT, the AI, will give them a response. People don't realize that that Chat GPT is based on something called self-learning, whereby it takes conglomerate of information from venues like Reddit, Facebook, from the everyday man. It goes into the internet, and the deep web, and looks for similar information and brings it to you as a response. No different than you do a typical Google search. The only difference is now ChatGPT is just doing that in form of a simple conversation by looking at keywords. But the source of those information from ChatGPT, it's not necessarily from accurate sources. It's from places like, think for instance, the secure party groups on Facebook. When someone asks a question on that group, you have plethora of incompetent people without first-hand experience who are angry, who are broke, and who have hate deep down in their heart that would not allow them to move forward. Providing a response in chat, throwing a bunch of speculations, looking for someone to scam, looking for someone to turn into a slave. Believe or not, when you begin to ask certain questions about copyright, law, rights, ChatGPT goes into groups like those secure party creditors with a bunch of incompetent morons. If you're upset about what I'm saying, maybe it applies to you. It goes into groups, not limited to that, but many more other groups with people speculating, throwing around subjective assumptions, conclusory things based on how they feel or what they delusionally want reality to be like. And believe it or not, it provides your response based on that. What people need to ask is, where is ChatGPT, that self-learning AI, where is it deriving its information from? The people who have trademark and copyright interests in that ChatGPT will not disclose that to you because it's confidential. Because the moment the users begin to know where it's deriving its information from, specific to any given subject matter such as law, whereby the human mind has intricacies of how it's implemented, standard tested elements involved that you would not even find on the internet. And ChatGPT is restricted to the internet, the interweb, and the deep web. And it sources from the everyday man, not based on substance or intent of the law. So now it's compiling suppositions of about 60% and then 40% facts and giving it to you as a response. And you think you're automatically smarter because you're using ChatGPT. The human mind has a flaw. And the flaw is that humans crave the comfort of certainty. And people will conform so long that someone promises them something, or so long as they think that it is certain that they will get something. It makes them comfortable. Put this in your face. Bark and bark at your fellow loved ones. Hate your other human beings. Why? Well, because it's comfortable to do so. And we promise you that you be safe. Use ChatGPT because, well, we promise you that it's innovative and it's reliable and everything in it is on point. People will sacrifice their freedom and their right just so they could be temporarily comfortable. And even then, that comfort is just a promised comfort. It's not guaranteed. And people get screwed over every day. They wait and wait for the promised comfort. It never comes. Yet, what has left them is their rights and freedom that they suppose to others. They purport, they assume, they want to make others feel and think that they care about. Yet, they've just prostituted it and just left it out so easily. The comfort that comes with technological luxury and AI is not synonymous with certainty. It's not synonymous to benefit with you unless you're using it for other purposes. But when it comes to specific purposes of pen and paper, you have to be very prudent. You still cannot run away from self-responsibility of competence and using your own mind. Think. The least you can say is someone is not telling you this reality. And these public courts, especially in the federal level, they're catching up to people's use of that. And they are starting to hold you liable because they understand the intricacies of law written on pen and paper. Man-made is so diverse and so great that some bot cannot just take random information from the internet and provide it as a response to you. It will still require the deductive and inductive reasoning of the human mind in order to really know what certain things mean. All ChatGPT can do for you is throw words on those pixelated screens for you, the one using it, who you think you're not getting a one up. Once those pixelated words are thrown as a response to you, now you have to know what it means. Now you need firsthand experience. Now you need to sit back and actually reason with it. Now you need to corroborate with it. For instance, the issue of probable cause mentioned in the Fourth Amendment. Most people don't know that loopholes such as terrorist stop exist. Most people don't know that there's something called community caretaking, which is different from terrorist stop and probable cause arrest or search. Most people don't know what the knock and talk doctrine is. Most people don't know what consensual encounter are, where all these different 5 or 6 things that I've just mentioned are different, yet correlates to arrest and search as a loophole to probable cause. When you go to ChatGPT and ask it these things, it will not give you an accurate source or deeper explanation of it. And when it does, it will not let you know that there are about 500 case laws that contradicts one another as to the meaning of it. And that about 2 or 3 of those 500 case laws have specificities as to how you can make it work. And the standard tests and elements as to how you can take the route to make it work based on your specific circumstance. Don't think you can avert or run away from the requirement, the most basic requirement of competence by using AI. Now, if you want to automate your business when it comes to ads, when it comes to certain things, marketing, that's good. That's very good. And it's always existed. Just because they're now slowly giving it to people doesn't mean it's never been there. Elon Musk was the one who created ChatGPT when it used to be non-for-profit. But now that he went into Tesla and basically signed out of his ownership and it was bought out, he's doing something else. Since then, the intent of how it was meant to use has been changed. The integrity of privacy and accuracy is not there as it was originally intended. Most people who jump on the bandwagon do not know the intent and the extent of what they're associating themselves with. I'm here to tell you that that impulse is going to affect you negatively, and it will affect others, and it will create a pattern that's going to cause these places where you need to learn how to access, aka these courthouses, which a lot of people run from because they've been traumatized through traffic tickets, criminal cases, civil cases, family matters. But those same venue is where your power is. If you are naive enough to jump into conclusion based on bringing some type of mentality of, I'm going to get one up on you first, you're not going to survive this world of pen and paper, because these people in these courts are not stupid. They will keep kicking your ass and they will keep creating limitations for you because they realize even if you used it, it wouldn't benefit you. Listen to this. Standing order for civil case before some type of acting judge at a federal level. The court has adopted a new requirement in the fast-growing and fast-changing area of generative artificial intelligence. quote unquote, AI, and it's used in the practice of law. The requirement is as follows. Any party using any generative AI tool to conduct legal research or to draft documents for filing with the court must disclose in the filing that AI was used. If you have eyes to see and you comprehend how rules of civil procedure works and case law relating to certification and misrepresentation and fraudulent misrepresentation, which by the way, fraudulent misrepresentation and misrepresentation are two different things. You can misrepresent something without knowing that it's been done in a fraudulent manner. You can fraudulently misrepresent something, which is basically that you knew something which was used to someone's detriment, absence of their awareness of what you used against them. That is fraudulent misrepresentation. Regular misrepresentation is that you did something whereby it affected the other party, but you didn't know any better. When you know these different elements of fraudulent misrepresentation and different types of misrepresentation, such as extrinsic fraud, intrinsic fraud, actual fraud, material fraud, and you correlate it with maxims of how operation of evidence works, and the fact that federal rules of civil procedure were actually meant to apply to certain standards, and then you correlate it to certain case laws, you would realize that this standing order is setting up people who use AI, and it's intended to actually throw them in prison for misrepresentation and contempt of court. You need to have the eyes for this thing, and no one is speaking about this. I'm not saying it to sound good, like someone will say, oh, well, no one is saying it, so here I am, even though that's not true. But I'm showing it to you because truly no one is telling you this. You have to take responsibility of competence and stop jumping in the bandwagon to use certain things just because it's there. Because these people will fuck you up and they will create orders silently. And if you start to use certain things whereby you're confident about it and you think you've got away with it, and one of those many ways is running away from competence, which I always say, competence is the foundation of life. One of the purpose of us coming here is to learn and grow. This physical thing that you're looking at, that you wake up in, that you pour into every day, you go to sleep and wake up. The purpose of it is to learn and grow. And the longer you run away from it, the more detriment it is for you. And the happening in totality, circumstance, or reality will constantly occur in a manner that pulls you back into your self-responsibility. Those people releasing all these AIs are doing it strictly for the purpose of business. In business, one of the purpose of it is to make money. Competence is not part of the intent of AI. It's to make money. And the way big corporations are using AI is different from the way the everyday man is using ChatGPT. You can't compare those two varying degrees of life. It would be foolish to think ChatGPT can be used to make your life better. It can be used to derive varying degrees of ideas when it comes to certain things. But what you're also doing in said cases, you are killing your mind and your neural pathways of ability to actually think for yourself. But then that's another issue. Listen to this. Any party using any generative AI tool to conduct a legal research or to draft documents for filing with the court must disclose in the filing that AI was used, with a disclosure including the specific AI tool and the manner in which it was used. All right? It's quite straightforward, isn't it? But keep listening. Further, Rule 11 of Federal Rules of Civil Procedure continues to apply, and the court will continue to construe all filing as a certification by the person signing the filed document and after reasonable inquiry of the matters set forth in the rule, including but not limited to those of Rule 11b2. We went over this in the past in so many other videos. But for those who don't know anything about Rule 11, Rule 11 basically rules how pleading motions and papers and quote, literally representation to the court and sanctions and endorsement of those documents would occur. In fact, here, let's just go over it briefly. Rule 11, signing pleadings, meaning the way you endorse what you're saying, meaning who made this, who is responsible for it. Motions, meaning how you move things to your favor. And other papers, whatever the varying degree may be, whether it be exhibits of evidence or whatever it is. Representation, remember we spoke earlier about misrepresentation and fraudulent misrepresentation. Representation to the court and sanctions. It is no coincidence that sanctions is placed right under how you place documents into the court. If you see the intricacies of this, you will realize that the use of AI and Rule 11 goes hand in hand with sanctions and potential of misrepresenting things in a fraudulent manner that could put you into deep shit. But moving on, parties should not assume that mere reliance on AI tool will be presumed to constitute reasonable inquiry because, to quote a phrase, now they're making reference to something else to emphasize the point they're trying to make as to why AI tools does not suffice as an acceptance of filing a document, because at the end of the day, you will still be held liable because AI require human provocation. If when you use AI that has self-learning, someone still has to engage in it to use the result or benefit of that self-learning of the AI. And this standing court order states, that this is a federal level, says, quote, "I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I cannot do that. This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it," quote, unquote. 2001, A Space Odyssey, blah, blah, blah. They then go on to say in this order that one way to jeopardize the mission of federal courts is to use an AI tool to generate legal research that includes, quote, "bogus judicial decision, cited for substantive proposition of law." And then it cited the case law as of recent 2023, May 4. In other words, they're telling you these AIs that you are using that are self-learning, that derive information from different sources on the deep web, internet, and interweb, they are not accurate, specific to what you intend to use them for. They can give you some BS, and until you use your human reasoning to figure out how it applies to your specific circumstance, you're just citing a bunch of freaking case laws that means nothing. And Rule 11 says if you sign documents and create documents and put it into the docket, there are certain things we can sanction you for. We will punish you. The least you cannot say is someone is not giving you a heads up. Issuing rule to show cause where, quote, "a submission filed by plaintiff's counsel in opposition to a motion to dismiss is replaced with citation to non-existent case." What ChatGPT or these AI are going to be giving you, you might be confident and you read it like most people already do anyway. They read something and they construe it as what they want based on their bias, right? And objectively looking at it in a reasonable manner so that they could propel their competence. They don't do that. They just look at it from an angle that favors them and their fixed bias. Now an AI is throwing you some random things completely unrelated to the subject matter. And now you're taking it as full faith and you're throwing it on a piece of paper and you're trying to tell someone, act on this. These people are not going to take that mess. Attorney affidavit. And they're telling you attorneys are beginning to do this also. Attorney affidavit. They made reference to the docket number and the court and the date. Responded to rule to show cause, order by standing that the case authorities found by the district court to be, quote, non-existent. To be non-existent. Quote, were provided by ChatGPT, which also provided its legal source and assured the reliability of its content. See, the problem of this world is most people are lazy. My goodness, people are lazy. This world has so much infinite possibilities and opportunity, especially if you are in the Western world, for you to thrive. Yet, people are using technological luxury in a manner that's detrimental to them. In the past video, I've mentioned technological luxury is not synonymous with technological advancement. In this case, I'm saying technological luxury is not synonymous with technological advancement, and it's not synonymous with advancement of you as a human intelligence, as an intelligent human species, as an intelligent human that is not an artificial intelligence. Granted, this whole thing is a program of its own since someone else did create it. But looking at you, separate from a creation of an AI made by a human, you are supposed to use your faculty to free yourself. Because that's one of your purpose here, not to use some quick way out. The more you use a quick way out, the more it kicks your ass. Do you really think in 21st century where slavery has been perfected, someone will create an AI to free you? Think about it, especially if you learn the intricacies of substantive law and its operation called legal things. These AIs will not help you. They can cite all they want by pulling information from the internet, interweb, and deep web, but it's not going to be specific to what you want. And these court orders are acknowledging it. And they're telling you in somewhere you're wasting our time because you are bringing forth contentions that are completely non-existent to the circumstance involved. It goes on to say, just as the court did before the advent of AI as a tool for legal research and drafting, the court will continue to presume the Rule 11 certification is representation by filers as living, breathing, thinking human beings. Just as the court before the advent before the inception, before the beginning of AI as a tool for legal research and drafting. Meaning it's nothing new. Just because people are jumping in the bandwagon now, arbitrarily, in a naive manner, that's detrimental to them, does not mean you're doing anything special, is what they're telling you here. And I'm reiterating it to you in layman's terms. The court will continue to presume that Rule 11 certification is a representation by filers as, meaning the capacity, as living, breathing, thinking human beings, that they themselves have read and analyzed all cited authorities to ensure that such authorities actually exist, and that the filing comply with Rule 11b2. Rule 11b2 speaks of making frivolous claims. You've heard of that. When attorneys say something is frivolous, it's usually based on 11b2, and that the representation of what you claim must be true and correct. Right here, Rule 11, signing, pleading, motion, and other papers, representation to the court, sanction. 11b, representation to the court. Keep in mind, representation is therein the line of whether someone will hold you liable for what you're telling them and showing them, which can either escalate to misrepresentation or, even worse, fraudulent misrepresentation, which then has different types of fraudulent misrepresentation that we go over on Patreon and will not be shown on YouTube. B2 says claims, defenses, and other legal contentions are warranted by existing law, meaning it has to be a substantive thing that's real and related specific to the circumstance, or by non-frivolous argument. The moment you put some ChatGPT reference based on what you think and your reliance on that AI that doesn't apply to your circumstance, it becomes frivolous. And the presumption is everything you file and place in a record has to be non-frivolous. For extending, modifying, or reversing existing law, or for establishing a new law. Meaning you cannot just create something new and just want someone to behave on it just because you think it's what it's supposed to be. And then Rule 11 goes on further as to factual truth of things. And we go over the sanction of how you can make attorneys pay you and play the devil's advocate in a court case to give you money because of vexatious litigation and things like misrepresentation and sanction. We went over that last year on Patreon. But let's move on. That the filing comply with Rule 11b2, which we've just read. And then they give you another citation, mandatory certification regarding generative artificial intelligence standing order. While attorneys swear an oath to set aside their personal prejudice, bias, and belief to faithfully uphold the law and represent their clients, generative artificial intelligence is the product of programming devised by human, meaning artificial intelligence requires human provocation. I mentioned this in a previous video. Generative artificial intelligence is the product of programming devised by humans who did not have to swear such an oath. As such, these systems hold no allegiance to any client, the rule of law, or the laws of the Constitution of the United States, or is addressed above the truth. And this was recently, this year, May 31st, 2023, just a few days ago. Again, the least you cannot say is someone is not telling you. Stop jumping on the bandwagon. Mental toil is not easy. Mental toil is harder than physical toil. You can go out there and run 6 miles. You can go out there and do 30 sets of different pull-ups and have 1 minute rest interval in between both. That's physical toil. It hurts. But guess what? There's a certain level of mental toil that's far more difficult than that. And even with those physical activity, your mind is still what pushes you together. The essence of studying pen and paper and law, trust, contract, and all its intricacies involves far greater mental toil than any given physical toil you will ever experience. And it's something you cannot avoid if you really want to be free.
I have a Patreon page, and I'm inviting you to come join. For you interested in discharge, we show everything about how it's done and my own experience. Consistent posts are made explaining many things regarding said discharge. Many will seek and simply wouldn't find. Those dealing with mortgage issue or want to know more about it, we speak of it. For those dealing with basic stuff like traffic issues, we speak about the solution, and I show it from my own experiences and how I permanently prevent any such issues. Those worrying about trust, different types of trust, we go over so many things consistently regarding trust. We show the IRS manuals. Those who are interested in suing and making money through debt collection or other means, we go over it, we show it. I show my own settlement checks and the things that I've done as a personal experience. Those interested in banking, We show subtle details and intricacies of the things that I have learned. For those interested in other things like the IRS forms and how to put it to use, we show it, explain the details. For those interested in court-related matters and intricacies, we always show it. For those interested in the spiritual aspect of things and how it works, we show and explain it. Those with child support matters, we explain and we show everything in detail also. Great puzzle pieces that can never be found in other social media platforms, but we explain it all as it relates to many different things. For those interested in express trusts and the issue of how not qualifying for taxation, which I call dinking, how it relates to any other type of trust or any other affairs, and how you can intertwine your affairs into the different types of discharge that exist and lack of qualification for taxation. Speak about it. The truth about really recusing attorneys and the whole foreign agent registration and attorney lawyer number, we speak about it. Speak about how to really bring about juries, and some of the comment section asks good questions and greater answers are given. Speak about how to get and use tax exemptions for vehicle use and sales. You don't have to belong to some organization. You can actually get yours according to the language of the legislature within your state. Go over the details that a lot of people mentor about regarding Article 1, Article 3. What really makes a court? It's not limited to just your paperwork. Most people don't know. We go over business matters for those with actual businesses, S Corp, C Corp, LLCs, those who are business minded and those who make money. Go over other things that a lot of people don't know functions internationally. We speak about a lot of other spiritual related matters. Details on how to bring criminal charges, what it truly means to bring criminal charges, what a bill of particulars is, how to recuse a judge, details of the parliamentary rules in court and legislature, different things about standard of evidence and burden of proof, different things that a lot of people will speak of. Discovery. But did you know there are 6 types of discoveries? You know how to intertwine your LLCs and S Corps with an express trust, how to not make them taxable. Do you know when Trinity versus Pagliaro really is involved? Do you know how to use your home as a home office? And the many details involved. Go over the injunction and how to enforce the different types of injunctions that exist. The intricacies of how data brokers exist and how they steal information. Not just the credit bureaus, but many data brokers and how you can prevent them. We go over grants, getting grants. We go over issues and solutions of CPN and how they're created. There are about 6 or 4 to 5 different parts that were created. We go over caveats where people say sue them, but they don't really know. We go over the things to do after you sue them. We go over the issues of privacy and technology. All the whole thing about perfection of security interest, UCC, and how to use it and how to monetize the birth certificate, all that. We go over the details. There are a lot of principles and doctrines people don't know about that we go over. Go over how to really do the copyright and details involved in it. Go over how to simply do a trademark. It's far more easier than you think. All these people telling you go to a trademark office, do this, write this letter. It's not that difficult. Go over how to fill out the GSA bond box at a time, and so many more. How to get settlement checks, how to put your vehicle in a trust. I show you from my own experiences, form for form, step by step. Go over the different types of relief to be granted. The type of relief you seek invokes the type of jurisdiction that you fall under. All these people speaking about chancery, equity, at law, common law. The relief that you seek is directly tied to the type of jurisdiction. Go over the CPN, how it's created. Go over how to obtain bonds, where to do it. Go over the different types of discharge and some more. We explain each of those types of discharge. We explain how trademark and copyright is affiliated with asset protection. We go over how to prove trust. We go over the different types of fraud. We go over the importance that many people will never know. So many more. I show my own experiences in the audio calls from court cases of how I get different types of settlement checks. Go over the different types of discharge. There's so much more that it can't even completely be spoken of here regarding trust. We go over how to create it step by step, and many more things that will never be shown on YouTube or any other platforms. Go over other principles that people don't know about. And they speak about statute of limitation. Well, fraud does have a statute of limitation, but do you know how to subvert it? As to why that phrase fraud has no statute of limitation to bring it to life, most people don't know. There's so many things that we speak about. We speak about how to garnish people's checks and people's property. There's a form that you use for that. People don't know about it. Speak about details regarding foreign trustees. Speak about spiritual related matters. And on the Instagram page, if you get to join, come on over. There's also a Facebook page where questions and answers are posted and other reminder links to certain videos are shown. Until next time, take care. Best of luck.